Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. I can never resist using Love From Lizi's Mega Packs. This is the Unicorn Dreams Mega Pack, and it is just bright and cheerful. There are 32 sheets of 8x8 paper. 2 of them have a whole bunch of fun cut-aparts and sentiments and images on it. There are 4 sheets of specialty cardstock, and there are also 8 steel dies. There are some just general sentiments in there, along with a little bit of floral design and some chevrons. And then since I love to add layers to my cards, I did pull out a lot of coordinating cardstock. I love the rainbow colors here. So here's just a quick close-up look of the dies that are included. And then there are all of the fun tags and cut-aparts, and I will be separating all of those off screen. So let's go ahead and get started with my first card. I'm using MFT sketch number 313. And my plan for this set of cards is I'm going to do 10 different card designs. Not necessarily 10 cards, but I'm going to try to do 10 card designs. Lizi's Mega Packs include so much paper. It's easy to make just a ton of cards. For this first card, I'm keeping the design fairly simple. I have this fun shooting star paper for the background, and then I used this rainbow striped iridescent paper that's part of the pattern paper just for that banner going across the card, and then I'm using the largest of the cut-aparts. So it's this really fun sentiment that says, "I love you more than rainbows." And then just to add a little more sparkle to the card, I'm putting some glitter using a Wink Stella glitter pen on the rainbows. And then I'm also going to use some of Nuvo's glitter drops. This is the white blizzard color, and I'm just adding it to the small clouds on that cut apart. One thing that I always enjoy about the Mega Packs is with the paper being 8x8, you can easily get 2 backgrounds for your cards out of 1 sheet of paper. So I cut them to 4 by 5¼ inches. So as you just saw, I did make 2 of the same cards using this design. So now moving on to my second set of cards. This is MFT sketch number 433. On the background paper, I'm adding 2 strips of Love From Lizi's peel-offs, and this is the clear iridescent glitter. This is one of my favorite colors of peel-offs. It just adds a nice little sparkle, and there is no loose glitter on these, so you never have to worry about that. And as you did see, I have an oval cut out of the background paper, so I will be using that as a matted layer later. And this is always helpful, especially if you don't have a lot of a certain color of cardstock. For the image on this card, I'm using this really fun unicorn paper. And it's hard to see, but all of those unicorns are embedded with some glitter. And it's another no shed glitter, so you don't have to worry about it making a mess. And then I'm using one of the sentiment cut-aparts, and I just layered that using the silver mirror specialty paper that's included in this Mega Pack. Adds just a little extra shine. And then love to add my little banners in the upper corners, so I just use some more of this pink cardstock for that. And then just some little embellishments. I cut out 2 small hearts, one just using some more of this pink cardstock, and then the little small one I used some of Love From Lizi's glitter paper. This is the white. Lizi always has some fun specialty paper add-ons with every monthly kit, and I keep all of the little scraps just for occasions like this where I need just that tiny little bit of glitter. So now moving on to my third set of cards. This is Mojo Monday sketch number 515. And this is another fairly simple card. I'm really just letting the beautiful pattern papers kind of shine on some of these cards. For this sketch, I selected 2 different sets of pattern papers, and for the background, I'm using more of a muted tone-on-tone design, and then I chose a busier pattern kind of as the focal point of the card. So I have this beautiful orange paper with these pink flowers and green leaves, and then the other one has these beautiful unicorns. And just to make that shine just a little bit more, I'm using the clear iridescent peel-offs again and just kind of making a frame all around the pattern paper. And a lot of times when I use peel-offs, I cut off just a little extra and then I tuck the end behind. But this time I decided to just go straight to the edge, and I'm just using a little X-Acto knife and trimming it off right at the end, so there's no waste at all. And then I'm just gonna layer those onto some more of this pink cardstock. And then I'll just go ahead and adhere that image onto my background. And I will be using a sentiment just right below that pattern paper. And just to sort of anchor it down, I'm going to use some of the clear iridescent glitter peel-offs. And I used a few of my smaller pieces since you're not going to see that big gap since the sentiment's going to be covering that part. And then moving over to the card on the right, the background is just kind of an ombre design, and I wanted to add a little more detail, so I just used a faux stitched cover die from Little Inker Designs. And I'm doing the same thing with the peel-offs. And then I'll go ahead and put that card front onto a card base. And I do always use white cardstock for my card bases. It's a nice heavyweight cardstock, 100 pound. And I do buy it by the case, so I am set for a long time every time I buy one. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a simple sentiment. This is just for you. It's a set by Lawn Fawn, and I'm just using a stitched banner die. And I am going to go ahead and layer that with some pink cardstock. And I do have 2 different shades of pink for these cards. I just go by whatever cardstock I have on hand and try to find the closest match. And there are a few different shades of pink in this pattern paper, so it was nice to have a couple of different options. So just go ahead and cut those fishtails. And then I am going to go ahead and pop up that sentiment just using some foam dimensional tape. And then I'll go ahead and center those sentiments on the card right over that peel-off. So now it looks like that peel-off strip goes all the way across and you don't see that gap anymore. And then kind of my little trademark, I'm going to add the little tiny banner in that upper left-hand corner. And then just to add a few extra embellishments, I'm using some of Love From Lizi's Rainbow Wishes sequin mix. I love this sequin mix. It's all iridescent. It has different sizes and even some little hearts in there. So I just chose 3 different sizes to put in the lower right-hand corner of the card, and I'm just adhering those in place using some Ranger Multi-Medium Matte. So there are my finished cards, and I actually made a total of 6 using this card design. And since I have been asked before, my little container I have my sequins in is just a little plastic container I think I bought at Target, and I just line it with a piece of paper towel because it seems to keep the static down rather than try to pull it out of the little plastic bag. So now moving on to my 4th set of cards. This is MFT sketch number 327, and I absolutely love this sketch. It has so many different elements on it, so you do have to be really careful when you're using a lot of pattern papers together because you don't want too many busy designs competing with each other. So for the background, I just have a simple star pattern, and then for kind of that larger rectangular piece where I have the 2 corners rounded, this is it's an iridescent paper that comes with the paper pack, and it's just beautiful, super shiny. So now for the background, I have that strip going across the card, and I'm just using some more of that ombre. It's kind of a pink and a purple design, and I'm just using some more of the clear iridescent peel-offs to add a little bit of separation. And since you won't see most of it, I can easily just use some small scraps. And then for that large banner on the card, this is a fun paper that also has that ombre look to it, and it has a whole bunch of fun sentiments on there. Let's go ahead and add my card front onto my card base, and I did layer all of that with some pink cardstock. And then there's this really thin strip that goes behind that round element on the card. And I'm just using one of the cut aparts, this little pink piece that has all these little stars. And it's not quite long enough to go all the way across, so I did just snip it. And then I'm adding the clear iridescent peel-offs again just to sort of add a framing to it, a little bit of sparkle. And then I'm just going to lay that onto my card. And since I do have several little layers, I don't want the ends to kind of sag down. So I'm just using some really thin foam dimensional squares just on the ends. And then I'll try to make sure that they look like they're straight so nobody has to know that I had to extend that little piece of cut apart. And then this fun little unicorn is also one of the cut aparts that I just used a circle die to cut it out. And I love that I had the right size, so I still had the nice little white framing around it. Just add that little element on the upper part of the card with some cardstock. And then I just wanted to add a little gem on there. So this is just one of the little pink gems that was from a previous Love from Lizi kit. And I did make 2 cards using this sketch. I really like how this card turned out, but be sure to tell me which card is your favorite in the comments below. Now moving on to my 5th set of cards. This is Freshly Made Sketches number 8, and I do apologize, I printed that sketch really small, so I know it's hard to see all of the measurements. But I do share all of the sketches with measurements, all of the products used on my coordinating blog post, and that link is in the description box below. So for this card, I wanted to move away from the unicorns and kind of that cutesy look. The mega pack has some really beautiful floral papers in there. So I'm kind of focusing on that and combining it with some of the gold specialty papers that are included. So I just have a tone-on-tone yellow pattern paper for the background. And then I used some more of this orange floral paper, matted that using the gold mirror cardstock. And for that strip that goes across the card, I used 2 different peel-offs. So I have the gold glitter, one in the pinstripe and then one in the brand new sway style. So then I also used the die that's included in the kit. So this is the hello. And I cut it out with some gold mirror paper as well as just some white cardstock. And I'm going to inlay the hello word into the die. So I just put some score tape on the back side, and then I can just pop that sentiment right in there and don't have to mess with any liquid glue at all. And then I am going to pop that up just using some foam dimensional tape. Want to make sure to get good coverage so none of it sags at all on the card. And then just going to add a little banner in that upper right hand corner using some more of Love from Lizi's glitter cardstock. So this is the gold that matches really nicely with the mirror paper. And I did add just a scrap of cardstock on the top of that banner just so it's nice and even on the card. So I did make 2 cards using this sketch. So now moving on to my 6th set of cards. This is Operation Write Home sketch number 146. I love all the different colors in this kit. It has a lot of pink, a bunch of orange, and then it has this beautiful kind of a mint green. And it's so fun because Lizi sells a mint moon dust peel-off that matches perfectly with this background paper. So I used the peel-offs to sort of mat that other pattern paper on the card. And I like how it just blends right in, but it still adds just a little bit of shimmer to it. So I'll go ahead and put my card front onto my card base. And then I use some more glitter paper. This is the pink. And I just cut a banner to put on the card, just like in the sketch. And then I'm going to use one of the cut aparts, and it's a little bit smaller than the element on the sketch, so I'm going to do a double matted layer on it. So I'm putting it on some white pearlescent paper first, and then I'll mat that onto this green cardstock, which is the same as the background of the card. And since that glitter paper does have a little extra dimension, I don't want part of that image to sort of sag, so I'm just going to use some more of the thin foam squares just where it's not touching or it's not covering any of that glitter paper. So now it's nice and even on the card. And then I'm just going to add one of the sentiment cut aparts, once again using just some of the foam squares and then some ATG, and that way it's nice and even. And then just for a little embellishment, I cut out some small stitched circle die cuts just using that green cardstock, and then I just adhered those to the upper right hand corner of the card. And then I pulled out the Nuvo glitter drops again, and I'm just adding it on the inside of all of those white hearts, just to add a little extra sparkle. And I just got a little bit outside of those hearts, so I just used a little scrap of paper to wipe that away. I did end up making 4 cards using this sketch, just used 2 different image cut aparts that are included in the kit. I really love the softer colors that are included in this paper collection, and this pink and the green together just looks so pretty. And since I enjoyed that pink and green together so much, my next set of cards is using the same colors. So this time I'm not going to use a card sketch. I'm using this beautiful green paper with all of these little pink and white flowers for the background, and then I just have some more of this pink pattern paper for that strip going across the card, and then I also put some white pearlescent paper over that. And then just to add a little shine to the card, I'm using 2 different peel-offs. So I have the sway design in the silver mirror, and then also the clear silver mirror, the pinstripe design. So I'm just going to layer all of that onto some green cardstock, and then I'll add that onto my card base. And then I'm using another one of the dies that's included. So this is the thanks, and I cut it out using some of that iridescent paper. And then I also used the silver mirror paper to cut the background. So the die has a solid piece that matches perfectly with all of the little sentiment and floral designs. So you can just layer them right on top of each other. And rather than inlay all of those letters, it was just easier to have that solid piece for the background. And then I did put a couple of holes in the sides just to add a little pink brad. And then I popped that up using some foam dimensional tape. And then just a last minute touch, I'm going to use some small banners in the upper left hand corner. And I cut one out of the pink cardstock and then another out of the silver mirror. So the silver mirror is just a little bit shorter than the pink, and then I just layered them on top of each other. So I did make a total of 4 cards using this design. So now moving on to my next set of cards. This is Sketch Saturday number 491. The background paper is this fun, kind of a confetti polka dot look that has embedded glitter all over it. And I'm just layering all of this in some really lovely purple cardstock. And some of the papers have just like little tiny tabs, like how they were pulled out of the paper pad. So I was just snipping those off. And since I am adhering this onto this glitter paper, I did put just a strip of score tape along with the ATG, just because I want to make sure it doesn't pop off the card later. And then for the banner going across the card, I used some more of the gold mirror cardstock that's included. This is the specialty paper. You can see how shiny that really is with my overhead lights. And let's go ahead and adhere that card front onto a card base. Of course, I had to run out of ATG and go change that real quick. And then I'm using one of the cut apart images. This is this beautiful unicorn. And then I also have one of the cut apart sentiments. And then I'm just adding a whole bunch of ATG tape on the back of this rectangle, adhering that to the card. And then I'll layer my sentiment cut apart. And I have just kind of a little diagonal snip on that right hand side just to add a little bit interest, and then kind of going along with the sketch design as well. And then I'm using this hello word, which is the inside part of one of the dies. So on a previous card I had the gold frame with the hello cut out, and so this was that leftover piece, and I figured I would use this on the card as well. And I just adhered that with some liquid glue. And then just a little finishing touch, I'm using some more of the Nuvo glitter drops in that upper right hand corner. And then since it's a unicorn, it needs to have a glittery mane and tail. So this was a fun card, and for anybody who loves purple, you don't always see purple in paper packs, but this one definitely has some of it. So I did make 2 cards using this sketch. So if you've been counting along the way, I now have 24 cards using this collection. But now moving on to, I believe this is my 9th set of cards. I'm using Freshly Made Sketches number 356. And I absolutely love this soft orange paper combined with the pink for the background. So I'm using some more of this iridescent paper for that strip across the card. And then I'm using some of the purple mirror peel-offs. I think it just ties in really well with that pink, even though it's more of a purple, but it adds a nice shine. And of course I have that little gap sticking out there because that will be covered up later on in this card. So first I'll go ahead and adhere that onto the card base. And then I just used this fun polka dot paper for those 3 strips in the middle of the card. And I didn't want them all the same direction, so I did turn the one in the middle upside down just so there's a little more variety of the pink and orange. And now I went and used the Smile Sentiment. This is a Love from Lizi stamp that was in the May kit. And I went ahead and first stamped it just using some pink ink. And then I re-stamped it, nice thing about the Misty, using some Versamark. And then I want to heat emboss it. So I used the Rainbow Wishes embossing powder, which is just beautiful. And this is Love from Lizi's embossing powder. So it's hard to see here, but it adds this really nice kind of iridescent rainbow look to it when you move it in the light. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that onto a matted pink oval. And then I'm just going to pop that up using some foam dimensional tape. And this is a great card that could be for kids or adults. Just very simple. That background paper is just this fun confetti design. So overall, I'm keeping it fairly simple since it already has a lot of sparkle and shine to it. But I'm just going to use some more of the Rainbow Wishes sequin mix. Just putting a few in the upper left-hand corner and then some in the lower right-hand corner. And I did make a total of 4 cards using this sketch. And now moving on to my final card design. This is Sketch Saturday number 563. I figure I've done pink and purple and orange and green cards, so now I'm going to use some of this really fun blue paper. So I have this cloud paper for the background, and then I'm going to put 3 of Love from Lizi's silver mirror peel-offs across the bottom of the card. I used one of the widest width peel-offs first, and then 2 of the narrowest widths, kind of sandwiching that one together. And that's going to anchor my sentiment onto the card. So I'll go ahead and add that piece onto some blue cardstock. And for this card, I do have a wider matted layer, that blue cardstock. This is a 1/4 of an inch versus my usual 1/8 of an inch. And the reason for that is whenever the background paper has a lot of white to it, I feel like it needs just a little more contrast, a little bit more color. So then I will use that wider matted layer. So now for the image on my card, I cut out one of the unicorns. This is one of the pattern papers, and it has some purple mane and pink maned unicorns. And I just picked the pink one here and made sure it was kind of at the center of that circle die cut. And then I used another stitch circle die for that matted layer around the unicorn. And then I'm using one of the die cuts included in this mega pack. This is the Happy Birthday. And I didn't want to do the inlay again because that's a lot of little tiny letters. So once again, I just used some white cardstock for that background piece. Used some more of the glitter paper for that little banner in the upper left-hand corner. And then just a little bit of Nuvo glitter drops. I just put them in all of the white stars. I did make a total of 4 cards using this sketch. Just the other 2 I had the unicorn with the purple mane and then used one of the sentiment cut aparts. Here is just a quick recap of the 32 cards I made using Love from Lizi's Unicorn Dreams Mega Pack. I love the Mega Packs. They have so much paper and it's easy to just make a nice assortment of cards. Plus, there's usually a great die set that you'll be able to use again and again. And this one has some really good general sentiments in the die set. If you are interested in purchasing this mega pack, I have included links in the description box below. The mega packs are a limited quantity, so if you are interested, I wouldn't delay. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.